Welcome to the Veterinary Marketing Podcast, where it's all about how to attract, engage, and retain clients in your veterinary practice with digital marketing. My name is Brandon Brashears, and I'm coming to you from northern Idaho. Hope you're having a wonderful day. In today's episode, which is an in-between episode, episode 225, we're going to be talking about how to make your practice different. I think different is really, really important. We're going to jump into that in just a second. First, before we begin, I want to make sure that you are a member of the Veterinary Marketing Nerds Facebook group. If you ever have any questions, comments, or need help with anything, that's the place to go. Additionally, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to this podcast in iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. That way, you don't miss an episode. All right, so let's jump into today's episode. One thing I want to talk about is different. Our brains are wired to see things that are different, things that stand out to us. If you've ever been looking at tiles on the floor and maybe one is off just a little bit, or if you've ever been stopped in your tracks by whether it's anything that's just different and stands out, doesn't look like it belongs there, it can be used to your benefit because our brains again are made to find what the difference is. Especially I think in nature. When you go and, animals are made to camouflage, to blend in so that they can't be seen by a predator, right? I think there's a lot of that when something is different, when it stands out, we immediately get drawn to it. So when you're thinking about how can I make my practice different, there's a book that I just read called The Blue Ocean Strategy. And the premise of the book, it was a really good book. I really recommend reading it if you own a practice or run a practice. But the thing that they talk about a lot is making yourself different, not competing in the same area as everybody else. Don't try to compete with your competitors. Most people will go into a landscape or a business landscape and say, okay, here's what my competitors are doing. I'm going to compete with them on those fronts and basically try to compete head to head. And so the book Blue Ocean, they're talking about going and creating your own market instead of trying to compete where you're going to be fighting. And the kind of reference that they made was Red Ocean, where people are fighting and people are fighting to the death, trying to compete for that last customer or client. And so the distinction that they talk about, one that's pretty easy and that we're going to talk about in today's quick in-between episode, is that if you look at your marketplace and take a look at how people are constructing their messaging, are they constructing messaging based on emotion, or are they constructing messaging based on logic and reason? Is it all about features? Is it all about benefits? What are people doing in your marketplace? Let's say you have large corporates that are competing with you. A lot of times they're all about free first exam, especially with the VCAs and the Banfields, especially the Banfields. They do a lot of free first exam. And if you're a small practice, what can you do to combat that? Well, if you're taking a look at that, it's pretty straightforward. You're getting some very rational, straightforward, here's what you get, here's what we offer. And there's not so much of the emotion, right? Where you're talking about the bond with the client, the bond with the pet that the client has, things like that. So taking a messaging approach that's different, whether you're going to go rational because everybody else is doing emotional, or you're going to start doing more emotional messaging because everybody else is doing rational. That's a quick and easy way to stand out from the competition and differentiate yourself so that you create your own market. Now, again, it's going to really depend on what it is that you're looking to attract to your practice and what you're trying to achieve. Because obviously, if you just want to be attracting, let's say you're just looking for a certain kind of procedure and you want people who are price shopping, then you need to figure out the best way and best messaging to get those people. But it's an easy way to stand out from everybody else, especially because messaging and the marketplace is pretty saturated. So making sure that your messaging stands out can be done by just being different. And I think you can still achieve the brand goal that you have, but still you can be different. So I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Again, if you haven't done so already, subscribe in iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from. And I'll see you on the next episode. Have a good day, everybody.